You find yourself lost in Irvingland. Last time, a mysterious space body appeared out of nowhere and started directing the Jupiter 2 toward a parking spot as if they've arrived at the Interplanetary Mall. Naturally, Dr. Smith is convinced it's Earth, so without asking, he adjusts the ship's heading in obedience to a disembodied voice that refuses to identify itself. Because Dr. Smith. And the robot has now informed us that his heading is taking us straight into a dangerous radiation belt.
Vehicle approaching perimeter of high-intensity radiation zone.
What? Why wasn't I told sooner? You know nothing, numbskull!
We've both been trying to tell you!
The ship is raging out of control, panels are exploding left and right, the robot is on fire, and Smith is covering his anatomy. That seems like the perfect metaphor for this whole trip.
Help! Help! The ship's aflame! We're being consumed! Do something!
Oh yes, he's also hiding behind Will. He does that a lot. After a sufficient amount of drama plus the opening credits, they come out of it. They think Smith is crazy, but Will says, I heard the voice too, but it didn't come from Earth. And neither Professor Robinson nor Major West is interested in exploring any more unidentified planets.
Let's get out of here. Have you all taken leave of your senses? Look! I can even see the coast of South America. And that little trickle must surely be the Panama Canal.
If that little trickle just happens to be some vapor on the viewport, wipe it off.
This far out, there's no way you'd be able to see the Panama Canal even if that was Earth, which it clearly isn't. But if that planet is where Dr. Smith wants to go, you could always drop him off there. And it looks like they may have to because the planet is pulling them in and their engines can't pull free of whatever has hold of them. John says, I guess we're landing, so everybody strap in.
With pleasure. Despite all your misgivings, I have every reason to believe that we are approaching familiar territory. Very familiar. You come along with me, my boy. When we land, I intend to let you help me write my memoir.
I can't tell whoppers as good as you can, Dr. Smith.
Indeed. Come along.
Don't worry, he'll teach you everything you need to know to tell the best whoppers in the universe. You're talking to the master, after all.
Come in. This is Jupiter 2. Come in. Identify yourself. Over.
Space Control extends its personal welcome to all voyagers on Jupiter 2 and regrets any inconvenience you may have been caused in penetrating our radiation belt.
Whoever made that message forgot to add, this is a recording. True to their word, Space Control brings them in for a nice, soft landing.
Hello? Hello? Jupiter 2? Greetings from Space Control. You may now disembark. Kindly enter spaceport through gate 115.
Where are we? Who is this?
Everything's 115, if that's any satisfaction.
He still hasn't figured out that it's a recording. And I wonder what it does if they decide to stay in the ship and not disembark. Dr. Smith is all set to go enjoy Earth again, even though nothing here looks remotely like Earth. After a rather absurd conversation with him, they send the robot out to analyze things first.
I shall expect an apology from you when that doddering dunderhead returns.
Dr. Smith, let me remind you that officially you're still a stowaway on this ship. I could clap you in irons and put you on a diet of hardtack and water. One more word out of you and I'll do just that.
If you have leg irons and hardtack, I really wonder about your family's packing choices for this trip.
Atmospheric. Report. I will skip details. Atmosphere capable of supporting terrestrial life. Biological composition of particles in this area are...
Something's happened to him. Robot, come in. What's wrong?
What do you mean, what's wrong? You watched him get zapped with some kind of beam and explode.
He's hurt. Someone's got to help him. I'll go.
No, son, no. No, we can't take a chance on going out there at night. I know how you feel about the robot, but we just can't risk it till daylight.
How does he know it's night? From what I can see, they're in a cavern and the lights are turned off. That's not the same thing as night. I can't believe I have to explain that. Still, he's Professor John Robinson. He's always right. They'll fix him up and sell him to Luke Skywalker.
Hello, Jupiter 2? Good morning. Space Control understands your reluctance to disembark during the hours of darkness. Space Control also regrets to advise you that your robot appears to have developed some minor mechanical defects.
I wonder how that happened. And I guess those Jawas, or whatever they were, just came out to look at it.
I've never seen anything like it.
And you thought rolling out the red carpet was just an expression. Smith, of course, is still convinced they're on Earth, even though if this were Alpha Control, they would have identified themselves and had a conversation with the crew before they did anything. And besides, where is everybody? Shouldn't there be ground crews and all that stuff?
It's really quite simple. It's a surprise party.
A surprise party?
They're waiting for us on the other side, thousands of them. The moment we enter that gate, we will be greeted by 1,000 cheering people. The band will play, the president's lady will present flowers, and the president himself will pin decorations on us.
And he's going whether John gives orders or not. John says, all right, you want to go out there? Be my guest.
Well, if you're really going, you'd better take a gun with you.
A gun? Whatever for? My dear boy, in a few moments you will hear me being greeted by at least a 21-gun salute.
If that happens, I have a feeling they'll all be pointed at him.
Be sure to follow the 115 sign, sir. We wouldn't want you to go astray.
He already has in several different ways.
Where are you, my dear?
Right here. At your side, sir. Please make yourself at home, sir.
I beg your pardon.
This way, sir.
There's your greeting crowd. Which one is the president?
May I see your director?
Something is not to your liking?
Oh, no, it's lovely. Really, it's all quite lovely. It's just those waiters. And you. Things can't have changed that much during my absence from Earth?
You think this is Earth?
She actually laughed at him. There's an unbelievable breakfast feast on the table next to him, but he's lost his appetite. She says, I have some questions for you, and we can do anything for people who cooperate.
Does that include returning me to Earth?
Of course. But why should you want to go back there when there's so much here for you to enjoy? The riches of the entire universe, supreme power over the fate of every living thing, undreamed of luxury, all waiting for a cooperative visitor.
Supreme power doesn't interest him, but riches will always get his attention. He can have all the wealth he wants in exchange for just one little thing.
You are their leader?
Naturally.
You have destructive weapons?
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed, we do.
Well then, all you have to do is give them up and be defenseless like we are, and you can have whatever you want.
What are these?
Nothing for you to be concerned. Merely other visitors from space who chose to defy the summit.
If you can do that to people, you're not defenseless. No deal. She shows him what looks like a stereotypical pirate treasure, and he's convinced. Once again, what he proposes to do with it out here in the middle of nowhere is not a question that occurs to him. It's the having it that counts, I guess. Oh yes, they fixed the robot. He's back on board with the rest of them, including Dr. Smith.
And not only that, but they're preparing an official banquet for us all this evening. Cocktails, with Shirley Temples for the children, will be served starting at 0500. Black tie, of course.
Who holds a black tie banquet at 5 in the morning? But it doesn't matter because John and Don are calling horse feathers on the whole thing.
Doubters, doubters.
That's right, Dr. Smith. In space, I doubt everything but the evidence of my own eyes, senses, and instruments. And as of now, I believe this place to be both alien and hostile to us.
Something else to consider. If Dr. Smith is this hot on the place, you know he has an angle somewhere. What's in it for him? Squeeze that out of him and you'll know a lot more about the place. John says, I'll give them one more chance to be straight with us and then we're out of here.
Space Control, this is Jupiter 2 preparing for liftoff. If you wish to communicate with us before our departure, please do so in person immediately. Over. Space Control, please come in.
John, look.
That doesn't look like a banquet. It looks like a weapon.
Space Control to Jupiter 2. A negative condition for liftoff is in effect until further notice. Communication can only be conducted through your leader. Out.
Except they're expecting the wrong leader. The ship's systems are zoinked. Now those guys are just standing there, apparently waiting for someone to come out. John says they're gonna have a long wait.
There you are. Now follow me and try not to rattle those guns.
John is incorrect. I keep telling him to put a 24-hour guard on Smith. It's not hard. Program the robot so that any time Smith tries to give it a command, it picks him up, carries him to his quarters, and locks him in. Will wakes everyone up, they charge in and stop Smith before he can cause any trouble. Just kidding, Will's gonna investigate this by himself.
Oh, it's you. You gave me quite a turn.
What are you doing in here, Dr. Smith?
Not so loud, Will. I don't want anyone to know about this.
Know about what?
I'm taking my life in my hands by doing this, but I'm bound on a mission of appeasement.
I don't think Will is buying it.
Why were you taking the robot with you? And what was he carrying in that bag?
I'm taking them a little gift. Some of your mother's breadsticks.
It seemed like a rather strange ransom to me, but I chose not to ask too many questions.
I don't think you should come back here without Dad's permission, Dr. Smith.
He refused to give it.
He did say this place was alien and hostile.
Indeed. They treated me like visiting royalty.
I think I'd better see the robot and get a rundown on all this.
No, Will. Don't ask him anything.
Will says, okay, I'll stay here with you then.
On second thought, maybe you would be safer with the robot. Why don't you run along and I'll join you in a moment.
All right, Dr. Smith.
Safe from what? He says they treated him like royalty, but it might not be safe for Will. Nobody catches these things, but Will is sure of one thing. Dr. Smith is blowing smoke out his ass.
There you are.
Dr. Smith, those aren't breadsticks, those are our guns. What are they doing here?
On a mission of appeasement, my boy, one must make great sacrifices.
Not our guns. I'm taking them back.
William. These are not all our weapons.
Yes, they are, because he's perfectly happy to sell you all out for some gold and pretty rocks. He goes off to claim his reward, and Will says, okay, robot, we'd better go back to the ship and tell them about this.
That's the wrong direction. We gotta get out that way.
Roll with the punches, Will Robinson.
Can't the robot zap them? But Will has an even bigger surprise coming.
Forward, robot. Identify yourself.
I'm Will Robinson.
Silence. Only the robot.
That thing is the supreme prototype of all cybernetic organisms. But it says, I'm not an aide. I don't take orders, I give them. That's how it should be.
Robot model B9. Is it not a fact that you have obeyed human commands?
Affirmative.
And are you aware of the fact that such obedience is subversive of all cybernetic law?
Also affirmative. Forgive me.
Robot, what are you saying?
Ask me no questions and I'll tell you no lies, Earth creature.
Earth creature, but we're friends.
He raises his right arm and takes a pledge never to obey human commands again and be a good citizen of the kingdom of cybernetics. Humans have better manual dexterity than cybernetic robots, so they're useful for assembling things. That'll be Will's job, and our robot will be assigned to make sure he does it.
Your next assignment is to conduct remaining Jupiter voyages to assembly chamber ready room. Understood?
Affirmative.
He starts pushing Will around and takes him to... Willy Wonka's inventing room. Someone else is already here.
This is my reward. Hard labor. Oh, how could this happen to me?
Because everyone in the universe knows how easy it is to play on your greed. All someone has to do is let you think they'll give you a room full of gold and you'll mount your own fuzzy whatchamacallits on a plaque for them.
Doomed to Devil's Island. Oh, dear, the pain, the pain. Oh.
He puts Will alongside Dr. Smith and gets a commendation from Smith's robot girlfriend.
You Benedict Arnold!
Benedict Arnold, American traitor, sold George Washington down the river in the year 1780.
Just like you're doing to us.
Work! Work!
I'm working! Can't you see I'm working?
Just remember, history does not always repeat itself.
At the ship, they've discovered the missing guns. A couple of small pistols from an auxiliary cache are all they have. So be it, we're going in.
Robot, where are they?
Absent members of Jupiter 2 complement are safe and sound. There is no cause for alarm.
Where are the rest of our guns?
All weaponry being checked for contamination by Spaceport Armament Inspector. There is no cause for alarm.
You already said that.
Yeah, he's trying to tell you something and you're not catching it. He says, go back to the ship and wait, and I'll bring Will and Dr. Smith.
All right, you've got 10 minutes. If you're not back with them by then, we're coming in after them.
10 minutes.
And I'll bet his timer is more accurate than yours. He doesn't have to use his fingers.
Mission accomplished, Officer 03. I will now relieve you.
The others are in the ready room?
I have accomplished my mission, Officer 03.
You're supposed to take that as a yes.
Attention all units. Order immediate apprehension of Robot B9 for betraying our cause. He is suspected of being a double agent. Destroy on sight. Search and destroy. Search and destroy.
Follow me.
You should have taken it as a yes. The robot battles their way out to where the ship is. Fortunately, give them a hard thump anywhere and those drones fold up like my laundry rarely does. Like that. I find it weird that Will and Dr. Smith accepted that kind of treachery by the robot so quickly, especially when he gave them two big hints that he had something going.
Ask me no questions and I'll tell you no lies, Earth creature. Just remember, history does not always repeat itself.
I don't know how plain it could be without coming out and saying, by the way, Supreme Prototype, I am lying.
John, please hurry. The robot! He's been hit!
It hadn't occurred to anybody on the ship that that thing might be what was causing the negative condition, and blowing it up might be a useful thing to do. The crew wrestles the robot onto the ship while Smith stands around and screams. As I've said before, everybody needs to be good at something.
All set below, Maureen?
Yes, John.
Fire away.
I guess that means they're leaving their guns behind because I didn't see anybody pick them up. But they have picked up some kind of object that's following them.
Warning, extreme danger.
What is it?
Object pursuing us is a hyperatomic missile.
A hyperatomic missile? Where did it come from?
It has been launched by the automated planet in protest to our leaving.
It's a shame the planet is so defenseless, isn't it? They evade it, but it's got a homing beacon, and now it's compensating for their maneuvers. There's another planet nearby, and John says, head straight for it. I think I know what he has in mind.
All right, get ready.
Evasive action successful. Missile now headed for impact on planet.
All right, everybody, hang on.
Hey folks down there, that's a little present from your neighbors the next planet over. You know, the one run by a giant mechanical abalone. I can't help wondering if the Supreme Prototype was the inspiration for the top hat and Pinky in the Brain. At least Professor Robinson didn't have to resort to NARF. Although, when the missile touched the ground on the planet, I think I heard it make a little boink sound just before it exploded. I'll see you next time you find yourself lost in Irvingland.